Hello, friends. This is Things You Might Have Heard, and we'll present for you in moments yesterday's latest in information, current events, pop culture, and politics news. And you are going to be, as we do every single day, allow you to join us as your go-to source for supplemental news, both mainstream stuff and some unconventional stuff, all mixed in together. Your morning news update from the Conversation Project is this gift from us to you. Thank you so much for being a part of the show and giving us things to talk about, because the way we call them conversational is you help us pick the stories for conversation. And if you're watching the video, you are seeing our teaser graphic. We're talking about that guy and Yoda as well, plus 7 other stories that hit the mark for yesterday today. If you want to be a part of the show, you just essentially help it happen. We'll explain how that works out in the feeds, but you follow us in the feeds and you vote up stories. Right now, or put a bug in your ear, that is our main website, which is thisisaconversationproject.com. Find all you need to know about us at that website, but not right now. Let's finish watching the show and give us about 12 minutes and we'll get to the good stuff, the fun stuff, the second show every single day. We have that here. So we're getting that in just a moment. So 8 stories for the morning, which were curated by me and of course vetted by you. Let's get into the news for today. It is Thursday, September 14th, 2023. And our top story for this morning, first story, I should say, not necessarily in order, is this one here. The headline reads, escaped murderer Danelo Cavalcante captured following intense manhunt. And just when I'm almost done actually being able to pronounce his name, Danelo Cavalcante, we're done. But it was 14 days in the manhunt, a lot longer than it needed to be. And we have Yoda to thank for it. The hero of this story, along with many, many law enforcement officers, is a dog, a police dog, a canine officer, if you will, named Yoda, who was able to bite the assailant before he could reach for the gun which was nearby him. And they ended the whole thing fairly peacefully. He took commands peacefully. He went into a capture, went into custody, and all is mostly done. Now, he obviously won't be returned back to that same prison because he just, broke out of it with a crab walk, that simple. But now the 14-day nightmare that where people basically thought he could have been anywhere. He could have left the state, left the country. He could be, back in Chile, as far as we know, Peru. He is now back in custody, and we are safer, maybe less panicked, if you will. That's definitely the case for this here. Our second story for the morning is this one. It's actually not so much a story, but it is the editorial from David Ignatius, who says that President Biden should not run again in 2024. If you've read the article or the op-ed, if you will, it's pretty deep and detailed. And as many people are saying Biden's the guy, there are many people who are not publicly saying that because Biden has a lot of things against him. The biggest thing, the obvious thing, the elephant that's many elephants in the room is his age. Some points from Mr. Ignatius's top ed include that he's the best person to wage battle for the soul of the nation, but, he's a shrewd campaigner and he beat Trump in 2020 and he could beat Trump again in 2024. The problem is there's a whole lot going on. He's 82 years old when this begins, second term begins. He's got a long way to go. And the biggest drop against him is the knock that many people have against him, Kamala Harris. Me personally, no problem with Kamala Harris, except I don't want her to be president. That's me personally. Many folks feel like that. And while it would be an alienation to a sort of, attack the black woman who's the vice president, it's a reality that many people have. They're more afraid of the secondary because the old guy may not make it through the full term than they are so much of the old guy in the term in the first place. Can he drop Harris and go with someone else? Not without losing a whole lot of face, and that's kind of the problem. Biden is going to be the nominee because he's not being primaried. No one is actually running against him that's of any note. Of course, Robert Kennedy Jr. and Miriam is all running against him sort of in the shadows, but not making enough noise to actually be much of an actual primary. We'll see how the Marianne Williamson campaign will continue on in life and how Robert Kennedy Jr. will continue on in his fame here, more or less turning more or less into a fame grab than an actual candidacy. But we'll see if President Biden decides to keep being President Biden for another 4 years. Headline number 3 reads, Bill Maher plans to start HBO's Real Time Without Writers. And we keep highlighting many of the talk shows, the talker type shows, which are drawing fire now because they're going back without writers. It's amazing how many writers are behind these things. Just an average, housewife watching, if you have an average housewife that watches these shows while folding laundry and taking care of the kids, is wondering how Drew Barrymore is hosting her show without writers. Well, Bill Maher is going to Nighttime. His primetime show is going to do it without writers as well. And the people are targeting them. There actually have been some targets picketing outside of the talk, which went back to work without writers as well. And I think there may be some issues with Jennifer Hudson's show. I've not heard about any picketing, but people are, of course, pointing fingers at that. Drew Barrymore losing a job as a host for another product because of that, because of the ire. And Bill Maher is already being targeted for basically saying writers are kind of dumb, or more or less writers are asking for dumb things specifically, not that they're necessarily dumb. He's going back on the air without writers pretty soon. We'll see how this one plays out and how many people will start poking the bear in this end in weeks. The actual fourth headline is Putin and North Korea's Kim discuss military matters, Ukraine war, and satellites. Satellites were meant to fly, and North Korea needs satellites, or wants satellites for their reign of terror and technology. And Kim Jong-un met with Russian President Vladimir Putin officially for the actual summit. First, they did the walk around, the touring stuff, the holding hands and stuff. And now they're at the big dinner. It is happening. And over the course of the next couple of days, or second day happening today, and maybe another third going forward, I mean, that train takes a week to get to Russia, so you might as well spend as much time as Russia as you can. They're going to talk more things about the war specifically. Now, here's where the real sort of the rub from this story comes from. It is believed that North Korea has already sold, already sent over, and that Russia is already using munitions in the war in Ukraine right now. They're already firing missiles and rockets already provided by North Korea. They can't provide food, so they can make lots of missiles and weapons, and so that's there. They believe that's out there. And what Kim is going to get in return, satellite technology is essentially what he's looking for. Satellite technology and also some rocket technology for the rockets he likes to send off, and better satellite systems and better rockets could make him an actual better dictator with more reach to actually do stuff instead of fly rockets into the ocean and just sort of wave his hands in mock victory. We shall see how this deadly alliance shall play out coming soon. As I was driving home late this week, I turned on to the Sirius satellite radio to tune into a interview with George Santos done by Aaron Burnett. And as the headline reads, it was all sort of bonkers. George Santos loses temper in CNN meltdown as he's questioned about alleged crimes. And it's basically that. He's asked simple questions about what he did, and he's like, well, you guys should did your research and have it up on the screen. And they're like, well, we're reading it here and asking you questions. And it's like, well, until you guys put it on the screen, I'm not going to answer it. Well, we know that this stuff happens. So what about this? Well, until you guys do your research because you're just attacking me. Well, let's play back all the things you said were lies. They do that. Can you respond to that? Well, until you do your research, we're not going to respond to this. I'm not sure how George Santos even got this far in life, let alone to be a fake, like I said, not a fake representative for New York, but he's a faking elected official of New York who basically everybody hates and is right now fighting for, I don't know what he's fighting for. He said he's running for re-election, and Kevin McCarthy, the Speaker of the House, is like, I ain't talked to dude in months. And George Santos is like, well, we talk when we need to. Yeah, this is just a very, very, very obvious case of a really bad guy who for some reason got snuck into and made things happen. And now you're finding all the bad guy stuff. And unlike, I'm saying this out loud, the Donald Trump stuff where people just can't bring themselves to believe they made a wrong decision. Everybody thinks this is a wrong decision except for George Santos, or he's just still trying to play the game to save his ass. That's basically what's going on. George Santos is an embarrassment to all of us, humans just in general, and he needs to go the F away. It won't be the last time I'll do the F thing, but he needs to go the F away pretty much now and save all of us the hassle. I'll pledge $10 to make him go away if that will help. I'll put $20 if he goes away twice, if that's even possible. Shannon Sharpe was fired from Skip Bayless's Undisputed. Didn't want to leave the show, according to Stephen A. Smith. Now that Stephen A. has pulled in the reign of Shannon Sharpe and Uncle Shannon is hanging out with Stephen a couple days a week, we're learning more details per Stephen A. Smith. And Stephen A. Smith with no real love lost to Skip Bayless, although they say they're cool, pretty much showing they aren't. Essentially what happened is a tiff between Bayless and Sharpe. And what went down, since Bayless is the star of the show, he basically got to call the shots. It made it look like that Shannon Sharpe just decided to throw up deuces and walk out. In actuality, it's more of a kayfabe wrestling thing. Skip Bayless had him fired. He had to go. Sharpe wanted to stick around, but Skip didn't want that to happen. Oddly enough, the revamped Undisputed offers up some opinions more or less like Stephen A. does for First Take with guest people every other day, including folks like Keyshawn Johnson, Michael Irvin, and Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman, who once said to Skip Bayless on the old Undisputed with almost the old First Take, him with Stephen A. Smith, Sherman told Bayless he was better at life than Skip Bayless. I guess a decade or so and some time and needing me TV time will bring things together. I haven't seen any real disputes and blow-ups on air yet, but hopefully Sherman will call him out again. El Chapo's wife released from U.S. custody after completing 3-year prison term. This is now the ending of the actual time spent by Emma Cozell Aspero, the wife of Kingpin Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, released from federal prison on Wednesday, completed her 3-year sentence, and for basically helping him run the company, run the business, if you will. She expressed her regret for any harm she has done in pleading guilty to money laundering and conspiracy and engaging in transactions with the foreign narcotics trafficker. Now, of course, El Chapo, the leader of the Sinaloa cartel, escaped his capture back in 2019. Was recaptured, of course, in 2019 after escaping capture. He sentenced to life in prison for maximum drug conspiracy, so he ain't going nowhere. However, his hippos shall live on. And we weren't getting away without this one. Mexican Congress holds hearing on UFOs featuring purported alien bodies. Yes, we had hearings that had people who were aviators, flyers, who saw weird things and videotapes of what they saw in the sky. The Mexicans brought the actual aliens. Your mileage may vary on this story, of course. Our teaser story for this morning. First, errors, apologies, and omissions. Sorry, we've been kind of out of whack on that end. We are not talking about the DACA, as federal judge has once again declared that DACA immigration program is unlawful, but they're letting it continue per appeal, per rewriting what's going on. The DACA program, essentially the Dreamers program, which allows young children who were brought here against their will is a bit of a push, but brought here as children and have been living their lives as Americans, so they don't actually know their home, but they aren't born citizens, natural citizens. The program to kind of get them citizenship, essentially still not legal, but they still push forward. We'll see if that plays out going forward. Now to our teaser story for this morning. And this is a story that we could talk about tomorrow if you deem it worthy. This is where we explain how the feeds work for our shows. You go to Facebook and X. It still says Twitter in the video. Yes, we're going to change that. Facebook and X, which technically is still Twitter. And go to our feeds and you tell us what stories we're chatting up the next day. Facebook.com/this is a conversation project, and Twitter or X.com/th_conversation. The headline for the story that we could talk about tomorrow, or any of them, since we post one every 50 minutes for you to engage. Watchmen creator Alan Moore asked DC to send his film and TV royalties back to Black Lives Matter. Basically, Alan Moore, the creator of the comic that is sourced from Watchmen, has asked for all his royalties for both the film of the Watchmen and the Watchmen series that was on Showtime to go to Black Lives Matter because it doesn't rate to the source material at all. We can talk this one up if you choose. This will be conversational. The top 15 stories for tomorrow morning will be plucked from 8 of them there. If you get in the top 15, we're probably talking about it. So you do that. Look for our feeds all day long as you're checking your other things. And as the story you like gets there, engage in it. Like it, love it, hate it, share it. The more engagement story gets, the higher chance we get to talk about it. As I just said, top 15 stories get consideration for the 8 we will pick for the show. Consideration for you And today's highlight sponsor is Fundrise. Now, Fundrise has done more than just bring people in real estate. When I got into it in 2022, it was really a new way to expand on your portfolio by funding in real estate. Fundrise, as all these things do to kind of stay relevant, has broadened its spectrum into other types of investments. And it's a great way, a simple way, an easy way to get into investment. And this is not you. Also, of course, we do support Robinhood as one of our other sponsors, where you get to pick your own stocks. This is one where you buy into funds that are managed by people who know what they're doing. My main fund for Fundrise is a real estate fund. It was how I got into real estate investing without having to buy a bunch of houses and work on them. And it is doing fairly well. There are other funds to get into to change your alternative ways of investing and to expand your portfolio. They're also offering up great perks for doing that. And they tell you every single thing you step along the way what's going on. Check them out at thisitsaconversationproject.com/fundrise. This is aconversationproject.com/fundrise. This is aconversationproject.com/fundrise. And you don't have to spend a lot of money. You don't spend it's not a $10,000 investment. You can do something on a very simple, small bank draft every single month and get yourself in. If you're young, now's the time to get there. If you're older, if you want to put a little extra money to another place, this is a place to check it out. Check it out. You will enjoy it. This is an affiliate link, so if you actually sign up with Fundrise, that's when we get paid for bringing you into the door. Otherwise, you need to check it out. It may save your money with Fundrise. The Conversation Project lives at thisitsaconversationproject.com, our home online, where we provide for you conversation topics. Every 50 minutes on our feeds, we give you some stories to choose from, and then those stories you choose from help us figure out what we do for these things here. Some days they're a bit more, the verboseness is a little more, a little less. Some days my words work a little better. But we give you 10 stories, which is a great show of what people out there in our community, in the world, if we are talking about. We say often, these are the things that Anderson Cooper probably didn't get to last night on the show. He probably did not cover the alien bodies in trial in the government of Mexico, showing that, hey, these are alien bodies. I doubt he got to that one. That's why we call ourselves a news side piece for unconventional and regular news, mainstream stuff. If you like what we're doing, go to the feeds and keep liking what we're doing. Literally, go to the feeds and tell us what to talk about. If you like or maybe not like what we're doing so much, email us at theconversationinbox@gmail.com for your comments. If you really like what we're doing and want us to do more of it, stop by our partnerships page and see if there's a way that we can partner up to get better at this. We thank you so much in advance. And now, as promised, the second show, the fun stuff, it begins right now. And the fun stuff begins every single weekday morning with birthdays. This is no exception for September 14th. Let's start off with Wendy Thomas, who's 62 years on the day. And what did she do? She won the galactic lottery of being the namesake of my number one, my favorite burger place, which is Wendy's. The daughter of Dave Thomas, who named his burger joint after Wendy, and she actually ran it for a while and was a corporate spokesperson for this one, the face of Wendy's, and the little face as the red pigtailed girl on the logo. So as I like to say, Wendy's is my favorite. So I like the Big Bacon Classic, F the Big Mac. Kimberly Williams Paisley is 52 years old today. This is one I put in there specifically for my wife, Christina with a K, because she's in all the Lifetime stuff, and I figured I'd get some points on this one because I'm pretty sure I've screwed something up lately, so I need some points. Hopefully that wins me some points. And going to Andrew Lincoln, turned the big 5-0 on this day. Andrew Lincoln, the British actor who has overtaken America as playing a Southern Georgia sheriff in the zombie apocalypse. Of course, one of my favorite roles of his, Love Actually, my favorite Christmas movie. It is a Christmas movie. It's a terrible movie. It really hasn't aged as great as it would. And that actual love story with him and Keira Knightley, and yeah, that's really, really creepy. However, I like it. It's all about me, and there we go. But actually today, it's really about him. 50 years old today for Andrew Lincoln. Our history lesson for this day, for the 14th of September, starting off back in 1901, the President of the United States, William McKinley, died after an assassination attempt on September the 6th. So it took him a little while to actually die after the assassination attempt. He was succeeded by Theodore Roosevelt. This is how Teddy Roosevelt got into office. The Major League Baseball season was canceled due to a strike in 1994. Canceled. Now, in many cases, when they have a big strike, it's all about scab players and making it work. Football is really easy because there's plenty of other guys who are mobile enough to actually run the football and do things, even though they don't have the full talent and skill. So they can run sort of fake football seasons. Major League Baseball, so many teams, so many players, so many places going forward, and everybody that's really attached to it are attached to a team. They just blocked everybody out and killed the season in '94. And in 2022, it was announced that the founder of outdoor brand Patagonia relinquished his ownership in his business and directed his profits to fight climate change. This is a kind of complicated story because, yes, it sounds like it's great. Like he said, here's all my money. I'm going to live in this island. You guys go fight climate change. Technically, his kids are managing all the stuff, and it's more of a sort of a bank thing. It's a scam to sort of save money and taxes. That's what it is. It really is one of those things. But it is sounding good that he's given his money, the proceeds go directly to fight climate change. And many of those things are going, but it really is kind of a way to, shelter money, to be honest. I said that. Today is September 14th. We're celebrating Gobstopper Day. Gobstopper Day. Like the candy, because that's what it is. A gobstopper is your jawbreaker. It's your hard candy that you put in your mouth and you suck on it for a while. It's a delicious candy. Normally they're round because that's how they work, and layers and layers of sweetness, different layers. Willy Wonka brand, the Wonka brand, has the everlasting gobstopper based off of the everlasting gobstopper that was in the movie. That's apparently you can just put in your mouth and it stayed there forever. They're really big and take a while to actually suck down, so you want to chew them. We're going to celebrate your jawbreakers or gobstoppers on this day. Very fun candy to have. And now, one more thing you might not have heard. Even for people who love books, finding the opportunity to read can be a challenge. Many of them rely on audiobooks. But is listening to a book really the same as reading one? In a study from Bloomsburg University, one group of test subjects listened to sections of a book while another group read the same sections. Researchers found no significant differences in comprehension between reading and listening, or even reading and listening simultaneously. One of our sponsors is Blinkist, and this is why, because reading takes time. And Blinkist, quick shout out for them, is a app that allows you to read books, large books, faster, because it condenses the points to books and gives them the audio version. And from that, I use Blinkist twice a day, sometimes more if people don't basically interrupt me and let me have time to kind of sit. So this is something that I have known, I've used for a long time, because reading books takes away time from doing other things. So you can do an audiobook and sort of do other things and get the same comprehension. Now, don't have it in background noise, because then you don't really get the full effect. Make sure you can actually listen to your book. But you can get as much comprehension from audiobooks as you can from reading. And for some people who have issues with reading and can't really stay focused, the audiobook is even better, because they can have someone read to them and listen and comprehend and use the pictures in their mind to work that out, as opposed to having to read it directly. I endorse this one 3,000%. If you endorse me on today's work, let me know. Go to your email and email the show. This has been the Thursday, September 14th edition of Things You Might Not Have Heard. I am still Jay Cleveland Payne, and thanking you for being with us for our show. We do this weekday mornings, every single weekday morning, 5:50 live, and we are glad to have you with us live. And if you're not live, just tell us where you are in the comments from how we're getting this, whether it's from the audio version that we pull from the video or the video replays on the various social media networks. We thank you so much for being with us. We also want to tell you that you need to stay limber and stay hydrated and stay on task for all the things you are meant to do here in the great life. We have had kind of a day this morning. We got this going after running a little late, and we were glad to get that. Let us know what worked and didn't work in sort of the shortcuts we had to get going on, because some of the things might actually become standard situations, and some things we just need to know to set the alarm a little earlier to work on. In the meantime, thank you again for being with us. Love you, mean it. We will see you one more day. Follow the feeds and let us know what to talk about for one more day of this week. That is Friday.